Right now, I'm really excited to get to the Rude Guest Hotline. Talk to the one and only number 71, Charles Mann.
71.
Charles, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, what's going on, JP?
What's up, brother?
Is Brian there?
Yep.
Or is he on the golf course?
Nah, Charles, man, I don't play that much golf.
Baloney.
Played last night. I mean, yesterday.
Okay.
What's going
How'd
on?
you hit him?
I hit him okay.
Okay, all right.
Apparently better than Leon Duncan, if you know LD. Charles, I don't think it's a secret. You know, we always love having you on the program, but with all the RFK Stadium news of late, it's been pretty cool to talk to some guys that played in that stadium and knew what that was all about.
That experience was about.
You know, I'm curious just kind of your reaction to all the news this week about the Commanders possibly getting back to a revisioned RFK.
I'm really excited about it, and I ride by the old RFK at least, every couple of months or so. I'll end up going past it, and it's sad looking at it the way it is right now. And I just was hoping, and then I know they have soccer fields and other stuff going on around there. My oldest daughter, lives on Tennessee Avenue right there in Capitol Hill.
Wow.
And so for them, they're excited because they're new residents. They've been there about 4 years, and they think that the stadium is going to add value to their homes. And so my son-in-law is very excited. He's a Buffalo Bills fan, though. I'm converting him slowly.
Let's keep showing him that same ring.
Yeah, exactly. I pull it out and show it to him, and he's, oh man.
You hear
remember, you married to you and the Mann family now.
There you go.
But y'all, like you hear those, like I hear stories so much about. Well, people don't want it around it. You saying like your daughter, them, they feel that it bring value to their home. I'm sure other people feel that as well, and also give them more, let's say, businesses to be able to frequent.
Yeah, well, it's the infrastructure that the Harris group is going to put around it. The stadium is the stadium, but now these new stadiums, they have all kinds. It's like One Loudoun in Ashburn. It's like in Fair Oak. I mean, in Fairfax, they have it's Reston Town Center. It's all that. It's going to be something where you're going to have hotels, shops, restaurants. I mean, that's the exciting part. So there's going to be a lot of building. I know people think that they're not going to get, if you're a contractor or something, you're not going to get any opportunities. Well, guess what? Muriel Bowser and D.C. government don't play. 35% of all the business work that's going to get done in that area is going to be done by local businesses, CBEs. Yeah. So that's what I'm excited about.
Well, and Charles, don't you? I don't know. I wanted to ask you about this as a former player, right? But I think people don't realize how much work you do in the DC area now, and your post.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you transitioned out of football entirely into business, and it's interesting for you. There are critics or opponents of the deal. What would you say to, because some people have legitimate questions. Like we talked with David Aldridge the other day, and DA's somebody I assume you know, and obviously a friend, and also a really thoughtful, smart person. And there are real questions to this, but that doesn't mean necessarily that it can't happen, right?
I believe there are always going to be naysayers. There are always going to be people looking at, and there's always, several sides of this to look at. But I think about National Harbor and how that all went down, and that didn't go down in a real good way for contractors and people that live in the community. I remember if you look at the old pictures, and you had to dig deep to find this one, but Art Monk and I had a shovel in the ground along with all the other dignitaries that were there when we were breaking ground at National Harbor. And Art and I never got one piece of business.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were on a doggone shovel in the ground. It get zero.
Yeah.
Partly because we weren't connected, and partly because we did not trust the leadership. By the way, that leadership ended up going to prison, and so so we did the right thing there. Muriel Bowser, though, is the boss. She just is very clever, very sound, astute businesswoman. And, I remember what happened with, the whole Capital One Arena and that leaving for Virginia, and that got nixed, so she is very thoughtful. And I think that they wouldn't have come out and made all this big spectacle if they couldn't get this thing done, if they didn't have the votes somewhere. I know there's 2 or 3 council members or whatever that are, on the fence, but I believe this thing is going to get done, and I'm excited about it.
I seem to be leaning towards what you're saying, man. Just, you hear a lot, but we've also been around here long enough, and I know people like to begin to say, oh, you don't live in the city. I don't have to live in the city to know what's going on there.
And we're in the city all the time.
I'm in the city almost every day.
Yeah, I was just over at the Muni the other day, Brian, and I know you were at the Muni, you and JP doing your So I'm in the city all the time. Now my daughter lives there, so I'm on 8th Street, walking up and down 8th Street, spending money on 8th Street, doing stuff. I live in Ashburn, but I'm in the city all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. My office is on Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, right in Ward 8. I've been there paying tax dollars since 2017. So I'm a part of the city.
There you go.
Charles, when you're walking around, how often are people still coming up to you and talking football?
Oh my God. Only in DC. I'm in Northern Virginia. People are used to seeing us, and we're not a big deal, and that's fine. But when I go into DC, people honking their horns or stopping me, or Charles Mann.
You're not very small either, though.
Yeah, you are.
Been on the football field.
You're not a little dude.
You're 6'6", so you kind of stand out.
I know. They know I did something.
He got to be somebody.
Yeah, exactly. They used to associate me with Patrick Ewing back in the day when I first got here. I'm like, I am not Patrick Ewing.
That's funny. We're talking about
they know who I am. I'm bald headed now. I ain't got no hair. I used to wear the high top and all this and that, but they still remember me for some reason. I don't know, and I really appreciate that. And I speak to everybody. If you come up to me on the street, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to look you in your eye. I'm going to give you some love because, man, it's been a long time. My son would always be intrigued. He'd say, Dad, did you know that person? I said, no, I didn't. He said, but he just came up to you. Yeah, well, that's what they do.
I remember I had this national defense poster.
Oh my God!
And you as a kid, and you had that high top fade working.
I did have it working. I saved a lot of money for that every week,
dude. It was sharp. It was sharp.
Now I'm saving all kinds of money, JP. I don't have to spend no money on the hair.
Well, Charles, we have a video producer now on the program named White Brian, and he has a incredibly receding hairline. And we're trying to
I'm trying to cut his hair.
Yeah, we're just trying to save him some cash and let
play
one
some
of the
Bobby
fellas.
Womack music. We used to call people Bobby Womack, Bobby Wayback.
Charles, I did want to ask you a football one.
Yes.
A lot of angst in Washington that the Commanders didn't address the edge rusher position enough between free agency and then the draft. Obviously, you're a 3-time Super Bowl champ, a 4-time Pro Bowler, an edge rusher extraordinaire, 83 sacks over the course of your NFL career. Do you think they did enough?
10 in the playoffs, though, brother.
Hey, that's the regular season.
10 in the playoffs.
Yeah,
those 10 in the playoffs are very critical.
Let me add, then, 10 in the playoffs in 19 games, including 4.5 sacks in a Super Bowl winning playoff run in 87.
Yeah.
How was that better?
Yeah. Way better. Thank you. No, let me say this. I know Myles Garrett was one at one point. He was one that they were looking at, and that would have been huge. and he took his name off the chart when he re-signed. And there's going to be young players out there. There's going to be trades. The general manager, Adam Peters, is pretty sharp.
Yeah.
And they're looking. Don't believe that it's over just because they weren't drafted.
Yeah.
There's trades. There's somebody on the waivers that got let go for whatever reason. I believe we haven't seen. This team isn't assembled completely yet. I think he's still looking for those pieces, and I think it can still happen between now and training camp, or now in the first game.
See, that's
or even during the season, they're going to be looking.
Yeah, I look at it like, we always see it happen and people get upset, but the team is not solidified until the first game. And I totally believe that they're going to find somebody. But then I also look at this, Charles, like you had it. I've seen it for years where coaches make a difference. We went through a period where guys came in here, they stayed the same or they didn't get better. Some of them got worse. But Adam, they showed last year that they know how to get the best out of what they have.
Yeah.
So somebody that has
Luvu, and Luvu, that joker, he showed that he's a baller.
Yeah.
And they can put him in positions and make him even better than he was now that they see how he plays. And so they have some talent here. Don't overlook what's already in the building. And having it getting better. And the defensive coaches, Richie Pettibone was just so sharp.
Mm-hmm.
He put us in the best positions to be the best that we could be. And sometimes if you're rigid as a coordinator, then you don't take advantage of what you have. And so they need to take advantage of what they have. I know Luvu can do a standing long jump.
How awesome is that?
He was crashing that doggone quarterback sneak. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of the gifts that you already have on the team. And then, they're always looking. All during the year, they'll be looking for somebody on the wire. There'll be somebody. This team isn't, as Brian said, it's not completely assembled. Well, and it won't be. It'll always be a work in progress.
Totally.
Well, to that point, Charles, a couple guys last year kind of came on late, and one guy was on the wire. Jalen Holmes was a kid they signed about halfway through the season, played his college ball at Ohio State.
That tells you a lot right there.
Big, long guy, 6'5", I think, with real length. He finished pretty strong for them, had 2 sacks kind of down the stretch. And then another guy was Jean-Baptiste was a 7th rounder.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, did either of those guys show you anything?
I like. You're absolutely correct. And these guys are just, I remember my first year I was behind Dexter, and I ended up getting 3 sacks that year, and that was great for rookie that didn't start. But the next year I exploded. The next year I took over Todd Liebenstein's position over on the left side. Dexter stayed on the right side, and then all of a sudden I had 10 and a half sacks, just like that.
But see,
it just give these guys a chance.
1 year to the next can be a world of difference. Somebody that's on the roster today, like I always say, people get crazy over names. But you know what those names are? They didn't have names prior, so they had to build that.
Yeah,
and somebody on your
Brian,
team.
We had that little tape on our helmet saying Mitchell. Man, they didn't know who we were
exactly
until they did.
Exactly.
Charles, man, thank you. It's funny. I'm saying Charles, sir, dude, Charles, thank you so much for joining us.
Charles,
here.
I'll see you tonight sometime later, right?
Yeah, you will. You'll see me tonight. And hey, JP, you called me the other day. I got it late, and I did,
good.
I apologize because I like to call people back. So
all good. You could probably guess what I was calling about now that we know all the news that had come out.
All right, Charles.
All right, guys. Be well.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much,
all
Charles.
Right, bye.
All right, Charles Mann. I've told him before, when I was a little kid playing at Maplewood, I wore number 71 because Charles Mann was the coolest.